Okay, these next slides are kind of beyond pre-algebra. Okay, some of you have some of this kind of problem on your learning path, and you may come up with some of these kind of questions on NWEA, and it's not that bad. I mean, it's not that much of a push, so I just wanted to go ahead and go over a few things. Okay, so we're talking functions. Okay, but we also use the idea of functions to write equations. Like, for example, we could take the equation y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, you know what that is. It's a line that has y-intercept 3, and then it has a slope up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Okay, but you could take that equation y equals 2x plus 3 and replace the y with f of x. So we could say f of x equals 2x plus 3. Okay, it's really the same thing, but it's like in a different situation, you may want to have f of x instead of y sitting there. F of x just tells you it is a function. Okay, there's something else this means. If I have f of x is equal to 2x plus 3, and I want you to find f of a number, like f of 1, okay, f of 1 just means find the y value when you replace x with 1. So if I replace x with 1, I have 2 times 1 plus 3, which is equal to 5. So f of 2 would be taking that equation and replacing x with 2. So it'd be 2 times 2 plus 3. Oops. Okay, multiply before you add. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 equals 7. Okay, go ahead and find f of negative 1. Okay, if f of x is equal to 2x plus 3, go ahead and find f of negative 1. Okay, that's just putting negative 1 in for x. So 2 times negative 1 plus 3. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. You add 3 to that, you get 1. I want you to see this on the graph, just while we're doing it. Okay, if f of 1 is equal to 5, okay, and it means find the y value when x is 1. Look over here, y'all. Here's x is 1. The y value is going to be that 5. So you can actually do this from a graph. If all they gave you was a graph on NWEA, you could solve these types of problems. F of 2 means find an x value of 2, okay, and see what the function is equal to. Find the y value. F of 2 would be this 7. Okay, f of negative 1, find negative 1 on the x-axis. F of negative 1 would be right here at 1. Okay, so just notation. Okay, we said domain is the x values, and we said range was the y values. Now this is also something that's a push. Okay, the domain. Think about the x values along the numbers on the x-axis. Think about which of these x values will have a point associated with it. See, like negative 1 has a point on this graph associated with it. X equals 0 has a point on this graph. And think about this. A line goes on forever. So it doesn't matter as you go to the left or to the right, every single x value will have a point represented on that graph. So the domain is all numbers. All numbers. The range is the y values represented on the graph. Okay, think about your y-axis. Think about which numbers on the y-axis would have a point somewhere on this line. It goes on forever and ever and ever. Do you see there to be anything? 3 has a point associated, 4 has a point right there, 5 has a point right there, 6 has a point right there. Well, if that line goes on forever and ever both directions, okay, every y value will be represented on that graph. It may be easier to see when we look at some that where it's not all numbers. Okay, we'll look at a few more Algebra 1 type problems on the next 2 slides. But again, you're not going to be tested on this. This is just as like an extra bonus.